Hey everyone, welcome to Mr. Geopolitics, and today we're going to be talking about the latest developments in Ukraine. Alright, so first of all, looking at the map, you see all these siren alerts. The Russians are blasting Ukraine with missiles yet again. And we recall how about 4 or 5 months ago the UK Ministry of Defense said that Russia was running out of missiles. Yup, they're running out for sure, yeah. Anytime now. And notice all these bomb symbols, which represent artillery, mortar, rockets, airstrikes, you name it. So looking at this, you notice these huge clusters of red Russian bomb symbols. So the Russians are bombing the heck out of Ukraine. That's for sure. Alright, so today we're going to start off in the most exciting section, in the Kherson area. So there's not much to talk about today, so it's going to be a quick one, but basically, the Ukrainians, they're really proud. They're basically, at first, when this operation started, the Kherson counteroffensive, they weren't saying much. Now they finally put out some pictures and whatnot, and they're saying they've taken back 3 settlements, 3 villages from Russia. And this is what they've accomplished thus far, and this is what they're putting on the silver platter for everyone to show that, you know, their counteroffensive is working, that they are able to fight back and win. So let's look more closely at what the Ukrainians have achieved. So at Vysokopilia, they have taken this town back. It's you zoom in on it. It's a small town or village. It's not. I would call this maybe a village, a town, maybe. I don't know. Depends on the population, but. It's not that. It's like 1 or 2 kilometers by 1. Or let's measure it actually here. And damn, you can't even measure it on the blue section, but it's like 2 by 2 kilometers, right? So not that extensive. It's like a little village town type thing. The reason why the Ukrainians were able to take this area specifically is because it's exposed, right? It's an exposed area. It's an exposed town. If you look at all the other settlements below it, the Ingolets River acts as a natural barrier. And this is true on this side of the map and the other side of the map, the Donbass. I'll show you later. But basically, on the east side of the river, the Russians control everything in red. On the west side, it's the Ukrainians. The river acts as a natural barrier. Unfortunately, you see how the river spins off and it just goes west here, right? Right above Arkhangelsk, it just spins off and just goes west. So that leaves Vysokopilia exposed, and that allowed the Ukrainians to attack from the west, the east, and the north. And apparently, some sources are saying that the Russians are on the outskirts of Vysokopilia. They've tried some counterattacks, but so far they haven't been successful. And another thing, which I should note, is that there are some foreigners involved in this operation. There are some Chechens and Belarusians, but these are not Chechens and Belarusians that are fighting for Russia. These are Chechens and Belarusians who are against Lukashenko, against Ramzan Kadyrov, against Putin's alliance. So there are some foreigners involved in this operation, or so I've heard. Anyways, we're not sure if this is the exact line here. There's probably a gray zone. This you could write, there's a gray zone somewhere around here, probably. So in between Vysokopelia and Arkhangelsk. But anyways, the fighting continues, but the Ukrainians have claimed that for now. That's their best achievement out of everything, if you ask me. Why? Because we go a little bit to the south, following the Inglitz River, and this is what they call the David Breed section. Now, there is some confusion around this section, but everything, I mean, I'll show you. There's this map, which is the live UA map, which is pro-Ukrainian. There's the Rybar map, which is pro-Russian, and here I'll show you. See, Suky Stavok, the town of Suky Stavok. Can you notice that? And then notice Suky Stavok here, and notice how on the Rybar map, which is pro-Russian, according to Rybar, the Russians actually control the area right beside Lozov, and they control basically all of this territory right here. I'll just make it simple as quickly as I can. So yeah, according to Rybar, it's more something akin to this, right? The Russians control Bilohirka and yeah, this entire part on the eastern part of this section, as you can see. And as you can see, there are a lot of the Russians are conducting a lot of bombing here, they're bombing the Ukrainians as much as possible. A lot of bombing runs, a lot of artillery, and I believe they have struck, because there were 2 days ago the Russians destroyed, or 2 or 3 days ago they destroyed all the pontoon bridges which the Ukrainians are using to cross the Inglitz River. Then the Ukrainians launched a counterattack. The Russians actually tried to encircle the Ukrainians by doing that. They built their own pontoon bridge right at Blahodativka. They went to Ternivka. The Ukrainians launched a counterattack, crossed the bridge, improvised a bit, poured some sand and some stones over some shallow areas of the river, and they were able to cross and link back with their forces at Suky Stavok. But the latest I'm hearing is that the Russians yesterday took over Suky Stavok for a little bit. So the Russians actually cut off the Ukrainians from the southern portion, and the Ukrainians at Kostromka were actually completely encircled. But then the forces at Kostromka and the reinforcements, they all converged on Suky Stavok. So then they regained control over Suky Stavok. Now it seems like they've basically decided to go southwards, and according to a lot of the maps, they've taken over Bezimin. So at one point the Ukrainians actually were doing something which made sense strategically. They took over the town of or they were on the outskirts, or some sources say they took over the town of Bruskinsk, and that is connected to the T-2207 highway or road, which connects to all of the settlements, the Russian settlements on the front lines. But the Russians repelled them, and I don't know why the Ukrainians didn't try to go for Bruskinsk again, because breaking that artery would be very vital for them. But now it seems that they're just determined to go south. But I don't know. I see this position as pretty precarious, because if it is like a slim bulge, first of all, you never want your you never want your salients to be really slim. You want them to be round and thick and expand in the enemy territory like that, like expand like a flower, like what the Russians did at Popasna. So especially when your artillery, you're outnumbered with artillery 10 to 1, 20 to 1, especially when The Russians have a large functioning air force, and the Ukrainians don't. In a situation like that, I mean, I think it's pretty precarious, especially because, I mean, the Russians have fire control over this whole area, right? And they can easily just destroy the Ukrainians' pontoon bridges, right? So, I mean, let's say the pontoon bridge is here, they get 5 kilometers. I mean, the Russians have a lot of means. They have missiles, they have, rockets, they have artillery. So, at one point, if the Ukrainians have a couple thousand troops here and the Russians blow the bridges, there's always the risk that the enemy can blow up your bridges in a situation like this, and then your forces can remain stranded. But the Ukrainians seem determined to push forward, so we're going to have to see what happens. But I mean, there's nothing stopping the Russians from destroying those bridges again. I mean, you think about it, and by the way, it seems like Rybar is correct with all these bombing symbols he's showing, because look, even this pro-Ukrainian map, you can see the Russians are bombing the Ukrainians relentlessly in this area. So it's not an easy push for the Ukrainians, and the deeper they go in, the more vulnerable they are to Russia's air force. Right? Their own air defense can't protect them when they go in that deep. So it's precarious. It's not like the ideal, right? That's what I would say. Anyways, before I move on from this section, I'll just show you a few other maps. Okay, this is Suki Stavok. This is Rybar map. Suki Stavok is here. This is the ISW map, Institute for the Study of War. Suki Stavok is here, again pushed southwards towards Shwasiv, the town of Shwasiv. This is the militaryland.net map, again Suki Stavok, pushed southwards towards that same town, Shwasiv. And the Deep State map, which is again pro-Ukrainian. In this map, again, they're going southwards. Again, it would make sense for me for the Ukrainians to go towards cutting off the T-2207 highway, but I don't know. They're not. They just seem to be determined to go south. But there is quite a ways to go before they reach the Dnieper River. And all along this way, the Russians are going to bomb them. So, I mean, that's 34 kilometers or 21 miles they have to go, right? And all along the way, the Russians are going to bomb them. And the Russians could cut them off at any time, destroying the pontoon bridges, right? The only way this would be viable is if the Ukrainians from up here could expand southwards and take all these settlements, right? Then it would be more viable, because this whole area from here to here north would be blue, and then it would be a big bulge. But again, the Ingulets River acts as a natural barrier. With Vysokopilia, they could attack from all sides except for the south, but now they can only attack from the north. So the Russians only have to defend one direction, except for this area right here. But again, in this area, it's north or east, but mostly north. But we're gonna have to just wait and see what happens. Anyways, going on to the other section, in the Donbass, the Russians are trying to take the Donetsk, it seems like there's a stalemate which is developed, like at Bakhmut. The Wagner group made inroads into Bakhmut, but since then they haven't really been able to go much further. But there is what I've heard is that reinforcements, fresh troops are coming to this section, as well as the Kherson section, and in this section specifically, they're doing a large-scale rotation. So the Wagner group at Bakhmut, they're going to be replaced by some fresh Chechen forces. And as we know, the Chechens were involved in the taking of Mariupol. They were involved with Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. So they seem to have a group of fighters who are excellent, who excel at fighting inside of cities. So we're gonna have to wait and see what they're gonna be able to do, and what the rotation's gonna lead to, and what the fresh troops are gonna be able to do. The Russians are probably obviously optimistic that they should be able. They're hoping that they can crack the Ukrainian line. They've been bombing the Ukrainians for quite some time, and they're hoping that has taken a toll on them as well. They have a foothold in Bakhmut and Soledar. Bakhmut and in where is it? No, oh my god, just sorry guys. What? Okay, I'm gonna get rid of these symbols. Bakhmut, yeah, Soledar is covered by symbols, so they have a foothold in Bakhmut and Soledar. So now they're gonna try to expand that way and expand west towards Seversk too, where there's a stalemate. Anyways, the other settlement which the Ukrainians have taken is Ozern. But the Russians are claiming it was a PR stunt. It's like I said in my last video. It's peculiar because see, just like in the Kherson section, this area as well is the river acts as a natural barrier, right? The Seversky Donetsk River acts as a natural barrier, and you can see how. See right here, following the river, the Russians are to the north and the Ukrainians are to the south. So it's kind of peculiar that the Russians allowed the Ukrainians to cross, and they didn't harass them. There was no battles, there was nothing. But as I explained in my previous video, if you look in this area carefully, it's all forests and bodies of water and narrow gaps. Whether you want to go east, whether you want to go west towards the next settlements, there's these narrow gaps surrounded by bodies of water and forests. The main roads all go through forests, and forests are excellent for defenders, units that are defending a territory, because they can hide there. Snipers, ATGM, anti-tank guided missile teams, ambush squads, you name it. Forests are great for troops to hide in and ambush other forces. I mean, basically, you go in this forest, you're surrounded. You can get surrounded from both sides, and this situation is also precarious because let's say the Ukrainians were even able to go against the odds and expand. Let's say they were able to, despite the fact that these narrow gaps right here and here are kill zones, potential kill zones. Let's say the Ukrainians were able to expand. Let's say they got to a point where they had a couple thousand troops. And then the Russians blow the two bridges which connect, which go over the river. And then what? And then what are they going to do? So this situation, as well as in the David Brid area, are precarious. And so 2 out of 3 settlements which the Ukrainians are raving about, which they've taken, which are villages or hamlets at the most. Vysokopilia is a village, and Ozern is a hamlet. Suki Stavok is a hamlet, which is like smaller than a village. So 2 hamlets and a village they've taken. And the 2 hamlets are, they involve river crossings, and the Russians can blow the bridges at any point, right? I mean, if the Russians can hit targets in Ukraine, all the way in the middle of Ukraine, look, air defense is activated. So if they can hit targets here, they can definitely blow up a bridge a few kilometers away, a few miles away, right? So are the Ukrainians winning? I mean, I think a lot of this is more for show, because what I've heard is that the Ukrainians are very soon they're going to be meeting up with, they're going to have a meeting with their countries that are supplying them. I've also heard today the Europeans are not keen on supplying Ukraine with much more weapons, because their own stockpiles are short. The Americans have also complained that their stockpiles are short because, you can't just produce a large amount of weapons overnight. Like, let's say a third of your artillery shells, right? You use a third of your artillery shells. You give it away or whatever. To replenish those artillery shells, it takes time. You got to put in the order. Then the company which produces them, if you want them made faster, they have to hire more staff, train them, the facilities. There's a lot involved. They have to order the parts and the metal, and all their suppliers have to have everything in stock. So it's not a simple process, right? So the countries supporting Ukraine are getting weary, and I think the Ukrainians are just trying to show the world that they can fight back, that they are willing to fight. It's not so important what they take, because, I mean, if you look at what they've taken, a village and 2 hamlets in a week, right? It's been a week since they started the Kherson counteroffensive, and 2 of those hamlets, the 2 out of the 3 settlements, the situations are, maybes. They're precarious. They're unknown if they're going to be successful. And on top of it, Ukraine has, according to the Russians, they've taken over 3,000 killed in action. So that would mean 12,000 casualties. But even if we cut that number in half, let's say we cut the number in half. 1 village and 2 settlements. Is that worth 1,500 dead souls? Is that worth 6,000? A few other, let's say 4,000 to 5,000 more people injured, maybe crippled. I don't know. I don't think so. But if this is just to show that they're willing to fight, okay, well, maybe it's worth it for them to get more weapons, right? I mean, that's obviously the way they're looking at it. And the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, the Russians have they're basically saying that as a result of Ukrainian shelling, they had to shut off the power plant. And I personally don't think they had to. I think they just are doing it because they're sick of the shelling, so they just turned it off. They're still going to be guarding the area, but they just turned it off just because they're sick of the shelling. And this power plant supplied Ukraine with 20% of its electricity, right? It also supplied the southern regions with electricity, but the Russians, they just decided, you know what? We cut off the electricity to the Ukrainians, and in their mind, the Russians are probably thinking that, look, in this area, in this section, there's 2 big Ukrainian cities nearby, a bunch of small settlements the Russians control. So the Russians are probably thinking, hey, they need it more than us, and this shelling is just wrecking the power plant, because the Ukrainians are probably thinking, if we can't have it, you can't have it either. That's their mentality probably. So, and the Ukrainians tried twice to storm this area with, boats, and we went over that, how they failed and they lost hundreds of troops. But anyways, the Russians are probably just sick of the shelling, so they just turned it off. So now, I mean, if the Ukrainians want to keep shelling it, go ahead, but I don't know, what are you shelling? Nothing? Something that doesn't do anything? I don't know. But the Ukrainians might not take the bait. They might just keep shelling it to piss off the Russians more. And this will probably continue. As for the Ukrainians, what they're bombing, the Antonivka bridge, again, they bombed it again today, I believe. And this other bridge in this section, they bombed again. What I'm hearing now is that from what I'm hearing, the Russians are building multiple pontoon bridges because they were building one pontoon bridge and the Ukrainians bombed it. But there's many areas where they could build pontoon bridges. I mean, you look at this area right here, more to the eastwards, more towards the Kozatsky Bridge, or P-47 bridge, which is also a railroad, and there's a dam here which the Ukrainians have damaged. But you look here, and there's a big chunk of land in between, and so I mean the Russians could build multiple pontoon bridges just right here, right? And it won't be as much work as it won't be that much work just because there's a big chunk of land here, right? They can build pontoon bridges anywhere around here. I mean, the flow of the water is a lot more narrow on the western side as opposed to the east. So, yeah, I mean, the Russians are not giving up. They're building pontoon bridges. As I've said before, all Russian tanks and armored vehicles, they can do river crossings. It takes a few minutes to set up, so they're doing that. They can. I'm sure the Russians are ferrying supplies with just ships, boats, whatever they can. Again, it's tedious, but it's not like the Russians are giving up. So, and as well, there's an airport right here. They can fly in some supplies. So yeah, I mean, the Ukrainians have made it more difficult, but the Russians are not going to give up, and they're going to send reinforcements to Kherson. So. Anyways, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe, comment, share, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.